Caucus Foundation Annual Legislative Conference and the 29th Annual Jazz Issue Forum and Jazz Concert. To begin tonight's festivities, please welcome author, web presence, concert producer, and radio personality, Willard Jenkins.
Good evening. Can y'all hear me out there? Okay, good evening. That was weak. Good evening. All right, that's a little better. That's a little better. I want to welcome these wonderful musicians. To my immediate left, Miss Terry Lynn Carrington. Next to Terry Lynn is one of the fastest rising and finest young piano players in the music, Mr. Gerald Clayton. And one of the most beautiful voices in contemporary music, Miss Liz Wright. And next to Liz, one of the smokingest alto players in the music, Tia Fuller. Now, Terry Lynn, we're here tonight to hear, I don't know if this is the premiere, but this has got to be an early performance of a brand new project that you put together that is reimagining a classic jazz recording, which for those of you old heads who know the recording Money Jungle, that was Duke Ellington, Max Roach, and Charles Mingus. Terry Lynn is reimagining that project. Tell us about that.
Can you hear me? Yeah. I don't know what it is about that CD that attracted me over the years. I remember the first time I got it. I was in a used record bin in Los Angeles, and I put it in my car, and I just always had this idea to recreate it. I don't really know why. It's kind of like earlier when Mtume was saying musicians don't know why they do what they do. Mm-hmm. And I kind of agree with that sometimes. But I knew the one thing I did know is I wanted to do some different arrangements and still somehow make it a trio-focused record, mm-hmm. but also add some other elements. So Liz Wright is singing on one song. There's a spoken word piece as well that she will do tonight that an artist named Shay Rose did. I have some guitar on a couple of tracks, percussion, a little percussion throughout. Three horns, there's one arrangement with three horns, which is Tia Fuller and Antonio Hart and Robin Eubanks, and they play on a couple of songs. And Clark Terry is a very special guest on one song as well. So, but when you listen to the CD, it still feels like a trio-based record. And Gerald Clayton is the star of the CD. And Christian McBride is the bassist.
Oh, and behind us, these are photos from the actual recording session. Now, when is this record coming out?
I think it's the third week of February.
Third week of February.
Which is the 50th anniversary of when the CD was released, the original CD was released.
All right, Gerald, now you got some big shoes to fill because Duke Ellington played the piano in the original session. Tell us about playing the piano to recreate this work.
Yeah, it was certainly a daunting task at hand, but it was made even more daunting as soon as I got Terry Lynn's arrangements, because she found really a whole new space for all of the tunes, really taking it into a new place, but still very much paying homage and reminiscent of the original recording. So yeah, it's kind of, my work was twofold. First, it was like really getting into the original recording and, trying to not just get the notes that Duke was playing, but also maybe some of the emotion behind the notes, some of the attitude if I could, and try to bring that awareness to the session. And then, yeah, really just her arrangements were super complicated. I mean, in a great way. The payoff was there, when it all came together. I think the music is definitely its own reward, and I think we came up with a good project. So it was an honor to be part of it.
Well, Liz, tell us about the vocal piece and the spoken word.
Well, I didn't have the privilege of doing the spoken word, but I truly love the piece. I've enjoyed learning it. I've enjoyed trying to understand how, her name is Shay. What's Shay's last name?
Rose.
Shay Rose. I really enjoyed how she paced it. It's incredible. And just how she dealt with the arrangement. I did the song, I think it's Backwards Country Boy.
Blues.
Blues.
Backward Country Boy Blues.
Backward Country Boy Blues. Mm-hmm. And it was very interesting because I wasn't singing any lyrics, and yet I was transposing for my first time, kind of seriously. It was wonderful. It's such a privilege to work with Terry Lynn because she invites everyone to be the best musician they can, and possibly a different musician than they've been up until that time. And that's a wonderful thing. And I have definitely found my experiences of playing with Terry Lynn and learning material with her to be is a new, it's a catalyst for excitement and for new discovery in music. And I really appreciate the relationship. It's a real privilege to work with her and to become a better musician in the process.
Now, Tia Fuller, by the way, has a brand new recording out on Mack Avenue. Tell us about your new record, and also I'm curious about the relationship of a horn player to this music, because as Terry Lynn talked about, at the core, this is still a trio project, and it was originally a trio project. I'm speaking of the Money Jungle recording with Duke Ellington, Charles Mingus, and Max Roach. Tell us about the horn relationship in this whole project.
Starting with the horn, it's funny because when she asked me to be a part of the album, I wasn't sure what my role was going to be. And I think once we got in the studio, it was a matter of just allowing the music to evolve. So as far as the horn, the role of the horn player, I think it was more or less, I was really just trying to expand and serve as a fourth voice, not anything in comparison to, okay, I'm going to be a part of the rhythm section, but I'm really trying to expand as a fourth voice, and then also serving in the horn section with Antonio and Robin, to all three of us serving as that fourth voice, because being a part of like a front line, you want to kind of mesh into one. And I think that's, especially on the blues, what was the name of the blues?
Switchblade.
Yeah, Switchblade. It was really beautiful the way that it evolved, because we were able to, it starts out, once you guys purchase the record, you hear that it starts out as the slow blues, and you'll hear it tonight, I think. And then we come in, it's almost an afterthought, but it's almost like sprinkles on top of a nicely woven and baked moist cake. So we come in and then we're throwing in the sprinkles, and it's constantly, it has this source of elasticity that it's constantly moving in and out and up and down. And I think it was just a matter of us really accentuating the sound and serving as a fourth voice between all three of us, all three of the horn players.
Now, Terry Lynn, in the last couple of years, you've been involved in a couple of major, at least I consider major, kind of women-centric projects. Sing the Truth and your own Mosaic project. Mm-hmm. What is it about projects that challenge you to develop something new and to just kind of bring something, a new spin on maybe older music? What is it about the project aspect that challenges you?
Well, with Sing the Truth, I was asked to be the musical director, and the vocalists were Liz Wright and Diane Reeves and Angelique Kidjo, and those are three very different voices. And so my job was to try to do some arrangements and come up with a sound that made the show feel cohesive. Mm-hmm. And it was a challenge. I think, I think we did it though. I think it was a really nice show, nice project. And all three were individuals, but they stayed on the stage and supported each other and sang well together as well. And it was great. As far as the Mosaic project,
which won a Grammy, by the way.
Yes, thank you. That CD, it's interesting because over the years, I mean, I've been playing for 40 years now, and over the years...
Does she look like she's been playing for 40 years?
Yeah. But over the years, people have asked me to do female-driven projects, and I've always been a bit resistant to that because you spend so much time trying not to be considered a female musician and just a musician that exists with every other musician. But I looked up one day and realized I was playing with a lot of great female instrumentalists and, of course, all the vocalists. And it just felt like the timing was right to honor that. And that was really just that simple. It was not any big statement. There was not a lot behind it other than that. And they were all my friends. And I just thought it would be nice to have us all come together on this one project. So, but this project has these two women, but there's more men than women on it. I mean, it's always about the music first. That's definitely. I never think about things like that, So it just happens to be there's a lot of great female musicians now. So.
Well, Gerald, the Monk competition is this weekend. And you competed in the Monk competition a couple of years ago and got robbed because you came in second. But you're part of a legacy. For those of you that don't know, Gerald Clayton's father is the master bass player, band leader, and arranger John Clayton. And his uncle is the alto saxophonist Jeff Clayton, and Gerald is now part of their band, the Clayton Brothers. Talk about growing up in a family of musicians like that.
Yeah, it was. I feel very privileged to have grown up in that environment. Mainly just to be introduced to the life behind the music, the lifestyle of the musician. I have really clear memories of being young and going with my dad to like sound checks and rehearsals, and I'd see these big grown men getting together and they were cracking jokes and laughing and giving each other hugs, and it was just a real environment of love. That's the first thing I remember seeing at a really young age. It was all love. It didn't seem like a career or a job so much as just something you do for passion, for love. So I'm really thankful for that, and at the same time, if I would be, practicing something, my dad's cooking up something, I play a wrong note, he'd say, F sharp, I was okay, Or if I was learning a tune, he would, give me the original recording to check out, and so it was a great source of information. But my parents were also careful not to sort of push me down any one direction. They were always supportive, but not forcing me down any road. So, all I can say is I feel really blessed, really fortunate to have grown up in that environment.
Now, Liz, you came up in the church. Earlier today during the Issues Forum, one of the panelists, I think it was Antonio, mentioned that he endeavored to bring jazz to his church and face some resistance. That old devil music label came up from the music director of the church, but eventually he capitulated, and Antonio was able to start a jazz vesper service at his church. You've sung in the jazz arena and other musics as well. What was it like for you coming up in the church? And when that point came that you decided that you wanted to, let's say, sing improvised music, you wanted to improvise a little bit, how did that happen? And what was the reaction from the family? Because I know your dad's a minister, right?
I went through almost 3-year period where I really withdrew from the church and from my family, because before that I went through a period of kind of running an open survey, an open discussion with my parents and several ministers of the church I was attending at the time, and it was my freshman year at Georgia State University, and I remember asking so many people what they thought. I said, well, I want to do music that still feels sacred but isn't exactly about God. I want to make music about life, which includes God, but I just wanted to sing about everything. And I said, and I don't want to do it on a Christian label because I want to make sure that I can, tell whatever story I want to tell. I want to make sure I have, a really broad sense of, I just wanted a broad scope to work with. Mm-hmm. And after talking to a lot of people, a lot of ministers and friends and family even, I realized that it ran kind of even what everyone had to say. Encouraging, discouraging, scolding. I worked at a little coffee shop in Atlanta for a while, and I remember someone from a church coming and scolding me very openly, like, you should sing for God, and you should never waver, you should only sing the gospel. And it was very emotional. People are very passionate about how they see, my gift or my calling, and it has taken me years to fully step into my own authority as a steward of the gift, with humility and with discipline, but also just really, owning my decisions. So anyway, I went through a process of experimenting and pulling away from my parents' reputation in their ministry. And basically what happened was I started sitting in and doing jam sessions in Atlanta with musicians who played both in the church and in the club. And by the time all of our close friends and family knew about what I was doing, those were the people that my parents were concerned about. So when they were okay, my folks were okay. And, it has actually opened up a really cool relationship and dialogue between me and my folks. I really honor them. I know the journey that they made to make room for me and what I'm doing. And I didn't expect that. And it's brought us into a very deep kind of friendship and just a more mature conversation as people. So I'm really glad for those lonely years that I had to figure it out by myself and just pull away and kind of treat my life like a lab.
Now, Tia, before we get to the music, because we do have to make way for the first set, tell us about your new record.
Well, it comes out in about 5 days. It's called Angelic Warrior, and releases September 25th. We actually did a pre-release at the Detroit Jazz Festival a couple weeks ago. But it's actually featuring Miss Terry Lynn Carrington on a couple of tracks, and she actually did an arrangement, a couple of arrangements, one on Cherokee, which is, I don't know what you would call it, but like a retro meets jungle meets, I don't know. It's basically featuring Miss Terry Lynn and Rudy Royston, who is a number drummer, and then a drum track. Mm-hmm. I love the drums. We have in-depth conversation about how much I'm very intrigued with the drums and rhythm. So this track features 2 drummers and a track, and then another arrangement that features John Patitucci. It's a meld of 2 Cole Porter songs entitled So in Love and then All of You. Mm-hmm. And so that's actually a trio, a song that we just do trio, and it's saxophone, upright bass, and then drums with Terry Lynn. And then throughout the course of the rest of the album, John Patitucci is actually featured on the electric bass, or piccolo bass, which actually sounds more like a guitar. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because everybody that listens to it, I played it for Esperanza, and she was like, whoa, who's playing guitar? I was like, no, that's John Patitucci. But the concept that I had for the album was basically taking the electric bass and allowing it to serve as an integral voice along with the saxophone so that the melodies could kind of juxtapose each other. And so I have 2 basses on the album. It's John Patitucci serving as like a melodic instrument with me, and then Mimi Jones is playing acoustic. And then I have my my sister on piano, Miss Shami Royston, and then Rudy Royston is playing drums. And so we have about 11 tracks, and I'm just really, really excited. Oh, also,
and Diane Reeves.
And of course, Miss Diane Reeves is featured on Body and Soul, an arrangement of Body and Soul. It's kind of like R&B-esque, but and she adds her thing. It's just really, really amazing, and I'm really blessed to have all of these guests and my family on an album. I wanted the concept of angelic warriors, that I wanted to not only celebrate who I call my angels and my warriors around me, like my family, my prayer warriors at church, my friends, but also to dig deep within and celebrate the balance between the angel that I think we all should have, the gracefulness, the peacefulness that we all should maintain in the midst of having the warrior
and the warrior spirit.
Exactly.
Yes.
The discernment, the drive, determination, all of those things to really balance our lives out that I actually try to keep with me every day, which is hard at times. So that's the album.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, once again, please welcome these musicians to Washington, D.C. Miss Tia Fuller, Liz Wright, Gerald Clayton, and Terry Lynn Carrington.
For turning out for our 28th annual Congressional Black Caucus Foundation Annual Legislative Conference Jazz Concert. My name is Cedric Hendricks, and I've had the pleasure since 1985 of working with the Honorable John Conyers Jr. here on putting this event together. And over the years, we have had some of the great legends in the music appear before you. We have had Dizzy Gillespie, Lionel Hampton, and many, many others. Last year, for example, it just goes on and on and on. I think the show that you're going to see tonight is going to be a spectacular one. You've already seen some of the artists that are going to perform. We're going to have our honoree Jimmy Heath here, who is going to share some of his music with you as well. We are, in the music that you heard earlier, also paying homage to the great Dr. Billy Taylor, who has been with us in years past, who has, of course, passed away. But his song, If You Really Are Concerned, Then Show It, has been the message of this year's event. The workshop that we had earlier was entitled, If You Really Are Concerned, An African-American Agenda for Jazz. And we had a stellar panel there talking about what we really need to do to preserve this music within our community. There's so much of a challenge that we have worked with the foundation to form the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation Jazz Initiative. And we hope that in the years ahead, through support of people like you, we can endow that effort in a way that will help us preserve events like this and promote the kind of advocacy necessary to sustain our music. Now, we have with us today a number of artists who are made possible through the generous support of our sponsors. If you look to my left over here, you'll see a banner that indicates who they are. And ASCAP has been a strong supporter of ours over the past several years. Microsoft is a supporter with us last year, back this year. Prudential, we thank you. United Auto Workers, as a Detroiter and one who used to work in the plants in Detroit, I am certainly appreciative of their presence and support today. NTC, and of course DTE Energy. And let me give a shout out to all the Detroiters that are in the audience here, because we're particularly grateful to have you here supporting this event and supporting Mr. Conyers. Thank you. Now, we have a representative here from the Obama administration who wants to bring greetings from the president, and that is Marie Johns. Marie is the Deputy Administrator of the Small Business Administration. She was nominated by President Obama in December 2009 and confirmed in June 2010 by the Senate. As Deputy Administrator, she's responsible for management and oversight of the agency's programs and employees. And under her leadership, SBA has had a record year in 2011, supporting more than $30 billion in lending and more than 60,000 small businesses across the country. And that's particularly important because when you think about jazz musicians, many of them are small entrepreneurs, right? Jazz is our culture, but it's also a business. And, we got a good many of our artists here in the audience tonight who, are trying to carry on their work, not just as let's say, cultural advocates, but as business people, and need to operate in a manner that is sustainable. Ms. Johns is also a former president of Verizon Washington and went on to start her own small business in D.C. She's a member of the Greater Washington Business Hall of Fame and one of Washington Magazine's 100 Most Powerful Women. And she was recently recognized by the Washington Business Journal as a minority business leader. So without further ado, I want to bring forward Deputy Administrator Marie Johns from the Small Business Administration to bring greetings from the Obama administration.
Thank you, Cedric, very much for that kind introduction and for all your great work in organizing tonight's wonderful event. And I also want to recognize Janice Hazel, who I know has also been very instrumental in the logistics for this evening. She and her team, what a great job you've done. I have to acknowledge the tremendous work of the Congressional Black Caucus and commend them for this week of activities. The caucus continues to be a very powerful voice for our communities around the country and particularly for their support of small business. And this week just helps to emphasize that and the importance of the caucus. And I've been involved in caucus events all week, but I was very grateful and honored to be able to play a part tonight. So on behalf of the entire Obama administration, and particularly on behalf of the SBA, I want to thank members of the caucus for the incredible work that you do in supporting our communities around the country. But I would be remiss if I go any farther without giving a special thanks and paying tribute to Congressman John Conyers for his amazing leadership of this wonderful event for the past 28 years. Thank you for this gift. And thank you for your leadership in so many ways. Just a little bit of personal insight. I'm a Midwesterner by birth. I'm from Indiana. And I think most black folks from the Midwest have some relative in Detroit, and I'm no different. I remember visiting my Uncle Johnny and Aunt Norma Thompson in Detroit over the years growing up, and so I've known about you, Congressman Conyers, for so many years and have always admired you, and it's wonderful to be with you this evening. As Cedric said, it's important to shine a light on this fundamentally American art form, jazz, and also to reflect on how incredibly important the arts are to our economy. A couple of facts. In 2011, the arts sector in our economy employed nearly 2 million people and contributed almost $150 billion to our GDP. So those are significant numbers. And many of those jazz artists, folks in the arts industry sector, are small businesses, as Cedric mentioned, like Bohemian Caverns, for example, right here in Washington, D.C. And it's the work that these small businesses are doing not only give vibrancy to our lives because of being the arts, but also bring strength to our economy. So it's my pledge to you tonight that the SBA and the entire administration is committed to supporting small businesses across our communities and continuing the economic recovery that we need. So I want to close by saying just a few things about tonight's program. I first want to congratulate Jimmy Heath, who received the 2012 Congressional Black Caucus Foundation Jazz Legacy Award earlier today. And I also think it's just phenomenal, as we saw the musicians who were on stage, to have Terry Lynn Carrington and Antonio Hart headlight this evening's event. Concerts like this do take me back to my childhood. I grew up with a father who absolutely loved jazz. So the soundtrack of my childhood was Dakota Staton and Sarah Vaughan, Nancy Wilson, all of the greats, Thelonious Monk. He fostered a love of jazz music in me that I carry with me to this very day. In fact, I just recently saw Cyrus Chestnut at Blues Alley. I don't know if any of you saw him there, but the jazz scene, the art scene is such an important part of the culture here in Washington and across the country. And again, we thank Congressman Conyers for his vision in putting this event front and center of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation Week. So we celebrate the artists tonight. We hold on to the memories that they stir in our hearts, and the joy that they give to us and hearing them perform and share their gifts. So please enjoy the evening, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Johns. Now, as Mr. Conyers has said to me many times, let's get to the music. And so without further ado, I want to tell you about our opening act. Some of the greatest in jazz have come from Baltimore, and that is from Billie Holiday to Eubie Blake to Cab Calloway and Gary Bartz, who was with us some years ago at one of these events. Tonight's opener, alto saxophonist Antonio Hart, has been a legend in the making ever since he burst onto the scene in the 80s as a member of the Roy Hargrove Quintet. He's been a sideman for Dizzy Gillespie, with Dave Holland, McCoy Tyner, to name a few. And as a leader, with 9 recordings under his belt, including his latest CD, All We Need. He is also a superb jazz educator, and as many of you who were at the workshop earlier heard, it said he followed Jimmy Heath at Queens College. He's a graduate of Berklee College of Music and the Aaron Copland School of Music at Queens College. And please welcome the Antonio Hart Quintet with Jeb Payton on piano, John Lee on bass, and Conyers, Mr. Conyers, remember Africa 1989 with John Lee as the bass player with Dizzy and Moody. So give a shout out to him. Lee Pearson on drums, Renato Toms on trumpet, and the great Antonio Hart on saxophones.
Thank you very much. So let me try it again. How you doing this evening? How you doing this evening? All right. How about a hand for Mr. Jeb Patton on the piano? Jeb Patton on the piano. On the percussion, Senor Renato Toms. All the way from Panama, Silver Spring, Maryland. That's right. All the way from Baltimore, Maryland, Mr. Lee Pearson on the drums. And somebody that's very special to all of us on the bandstand on the bass, Mr. John Lee. It's a pleasure to be here playing for you. It's a pleasure just to play music any time of the day. So I'm just happy. Every time I have this thing in my hand, I'm happy, and especially to give thanks to my teacher, my master, my mentor, Mr. Jimmy Heath. No, that's got to be a lot bigger than that. Jimmy Heath. That's right. He's one of our greatest treasures, and he's still here on this earth. You're going to get a chance to hear him real soon, and you're going to know why we all call him the master. We started out the set with a composition that I heard on an album with Julian Cannonball Adderley and Bill Evans entitled Know What I Mean, and I took that title song, Know What I Mean, and did an arrangement of it on my own so it could make it a little personal. And then we went into a composition by Mr. Heath entitled Togetherness. And we're going to continue with a lovely song of his that I learned when I started graduate school, because I think that's when this CD came out. And this song is entitled New Picture. we like to play one more composition of Mr. Heath's before we bring him to the stage. And something he always talks about, he got from his mentor, Dizzy Gillespie. And he always talked about keeping one foot in the past and one foot in the present. So we decided to take one of the songs from the Heath Brothers entitled A Time and a Place, where we tried to update it a little bit so it's a little closer to our time, because it came out in the 70s, I believe. So before we get started, we're going to put our hands together because we need you to be a part of this. Can you do that for us? You going to be a part of it with us? I heard these guys up here. Are you going to be a part of it with us? All right, come on.
Townsend on the drums. Renato Townsend on percussion. Renato Townsend on the percussion. On the bass, Mr. John Lee. John Lee on the bass. A longtime member of the Heath Brothers, Mr. Jet Patton on the piano. Jet Patton on the piano. At this time, we're gonna bring to the bandstand just somebody that I love very much, one of the greatest musicians, composers, arrangers, saxophone players of all times, Mr. Jimmy Heath. Put your hands together.
Thanks, Mr. Antonio Hart. I wrote a composition for him also called Like a Son. But I would like to start out by playing, I'm only going to play a couple compositions. And we have a long show tonight. And what I want to do is play this ballad that I wrote many years ago in a piece called Afro-American Suite of Evolution. And I dedicated this piece to one of the masters of the tenor saxophone, and he was before Train and before many others. His name was Coleman Hawkins. And here it is, the voice of the saxophone. We're going to end the part of our performance here with playing a composition written for one of my children. His name was Jeffrey, and he was given the name Gingerbread Boy. And this song was recorded by Miles and Dexter and a lot of my colleagues from my time. In other words, the cats. Now they call them my dogs. But I'm hip to it. Ain't nothing but semantics. They're into semantic antics now. You dig? So I want Brother Antonio to come on up here and join me. Let's do this one for the final. Gingerbread Boy. That good? That one squeaks. I don't want that one no more. Want to do that? Intro. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Bam, bam.
Mr. Jimmy Heath. Mr. Jimmy Heath. Mr. Jimmy Heath. All right. Please stick around. The great Terry Lynn Carrington is about to tear the stage up. Thank you very much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the Antonio Hart Quintet featuring NEA Jazz Master Jimmy Heath. Jeb Patton on piano, John Lee on bass, Lee Pearson on drums, Renato Thomas on percussion, and of course, Antonio Hart on saxophone. We're going to take a 10-minute break, and when we come back, we're going to have an awards presentation to Mr. Heath, and following that, Terry Lynn Carrington and her Money Jungle Project. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to proceed to recognize our honoree. And let me just say, before we do that, when this show is over, Mr. Heath is going to be outside making available for sale his autobiography, I Walk with Giants, and his CD, Turn Up the Heath. So I know everybody here is going to want those, and you will be able to get them from Mr. Heath right outside the door as the program concludes. And so without any further ado, I want to bring forward our chairman, the Honorable John Conyers Jr., his colleague, the Honorable Mel Watt, and our honoree, Mr. Jimmy Heath, National Endowment for the Arts Jazz Master.
Isn't it a great evening, brothers and sisters? I am amazed at how jazz keeps moving along. I was thinking of Coltrane and Miles Davis, as usual, and Jimmy Heath was just getting started when that session ended. I hope we can hear some more of him tonight before it's over.
I think we will.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I'm very pleased to, on behalf of myself, Mel Watt, and the Congressional Black Caucus, present to Jimmy Heath. And he's from a great family of musicians, isn't he? Good night. We're honoring this jazz master, this activist, this progressive human being who has helped bring the understanding and appreciation of jazz forward in such a way. You know, what he's done is make us aware of how this music came out of the African American experience, developed, but now celebrated all over the world in so many different ways. And Jimmy's worked with all of the people that started me out when Charlie Parker and Miles Davis started out, and Dizzy Gillespie, of course, and then Miles Davis took on this fellow named John Coltrane.
Correct.
And it kept going from there. So we're here today, tonight. This is the 28th session of this group that started, Mel, when I started going to CBC, and I said, look, we're going to have some jazz one way or the other. And now it's a sellout event at all the caucuses, but we want to take it out on beyond that. And I want to welcome back Uleda Watt and my colleague Mel Watt, who serves with great distinction on the Judiciary Committee. He happens to hail from North Carolina, and they're telling me that a lot of jazz people come out of North Carolina. Mel Watt, let's welcome him, everyone.
So I keep telling John that a lot of the, I shouldn't say all of them, but a lot of the great jazz musicians come out of North Carolina. John Coltrane.
Yes.
And we just found out, where is Jimmy Heath from? Wilmington, North Carolina. So we're right in step here. John is the lead man here. I'm the guy that rings the little percussionist things in the background for him. And we have a great time. I want to just thank him for continuing this tradition all these years. And I want to congratulate my fellow North Carolinian, Jimmy Heath, on this magnificent award.
Let's give it to him together.
All right. Okay. Can I say this?
We got to move over that way to get the photograph.
This is something I never dreamed of. My being honored by the CBC and meeting again with Congressman Conyers. I met the congressman in 1987 when the idea of making jazz music, African American classical music, a national treasure came about. Now to be receiving this award during President Obama's administration and with my family here to witness this moment, and being here with the continuum of young jazz musicians is unbelievable. I do miss the jazz giants I walked with, but they went ahead of me to the big bandstand. And I'm looking forward, not so anxiously, but I'm going to get to the big bandstand with Dizzy and Miles and all my boys trained one of these days. Their music is still here, though. And music is life, and life is music. And thanks so very, very much for this award.
All right. It is my pleasure, having worked with my dear friend and brother, John Conyers, since 1978 when I was the national coordinator of the Jazz Artisan Schools program at the National Endowment for the Arts. That's when I first met him. And he invited me up to his office and said, give me a bass lesson. So we've been going through that for many, many years. And it is my pleasure to give him an award that is from an organization with the acronym NASRI. N stands for North Carolina Central University. The A stands for African American Jazz Caucus. The J stands for Jazz. R is for Research, and the I is for Institute. We have inducted the Honorable Congressman John Conyers, Jr. into the NASRI Jazz Hall of Fame for his outstanding contributions to jazz.
From the North Carolina Central University African American Jazz Caucus, the Jazz Research Institute. I thank you very much. Is this going to cost me anything? All right.
You see why he's my brother.
Thank you so much, Larry Ridley.
Yes, this guy needs to step over here for some more pictures. Larry,
Okay.
Mr. Conyers.
What a wonderful evening for wonderful music. Thank you so much for coming out. You know, on behalf of jazz players and jazz players on the radio, we're so glad to see such a big house tonight. This is great music, and We hope those of you who are in the area will have the opportunity to keep listening to it at 89.3 WPFW, where I have the opportunity to play great music. My name is Candy Shannon, and I am one of the jazz players at WPFW. Thank you so much, and we invite your support of the music live in person, in the clubs, in the concerts, and of course also on the radio. Well, it's my pleasure to bring on our next performers. She is an amazing musician, and if you were not here early enough to hear the discussion led by my colleague Willard Jenkins, well, you missed it. You know, she's been playing her music, playing jazz for 40 years. She was 7 when she got started. And Terry Lynn Carrington has been an outstanding musician ever since she was 7 years old. Today, she's an educator, she's a player, she's an arranger, she's a band leader, and she's a visionary. She is going to play for us part of a new project that is coming out soon. In fact, we are very fortunate to be able to hear early release of a project that will be out the beginning of 2013. And Terry Lynn Carrington decided to reimagine, reinterpret, and pay tribute to a classic jazz album, The Money Jungle, which was a trio jazz album with Duke Ellington, Charles Mingus, and Max Roach. So, you're here for the good stuff, let's get to it. Terry Lynn Carrington and the band.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming. Thanks for having us. This is a big thrill for us to be here this evening, debuting this music. This is the first time that we've played it. Can I get my voice in here so I can hear myself too? Thank you. So bear with us. We're on a journey discovering this music live. We recorded it in the studio, Gerald Clayton and Christian McBride, as well as a few other great musicians. Clark Terry is a special guest, Liz Wright, as well as Antonio Hart and Tia Fuller and Robin Eubanks. And so hope you enjoy our presentation of Money Jungle.
No profit under the current paradigm in saving lives, putting balance on it, but having justice and peace or anything else. You have to create problems to create profit.
Okay, thank you. We'd like to continue with another song. That was actually the title track, Money Jungle. And we'd like to continue with a song called A Little Max, which Ellington obviously wrote for Max Roach. Gerald, do you remember how the original Little Max goes? Something like that. And we actually put it in, or I put it in 5/4, and just did a whole lot of other little things to it, and added some different harmonies, and this is our version of A Little Max. And I put it in 5/4 actually because Max Roach loved to play odd time signatures, and he was even the first person I heard playing odd time signatures, and I love playing in 7 and 5, and most of that is because of Max Roach. Okay, we'd like to invite to the stage, back to the stage. A lot of people don't know that she's studying percussion, so I had to utilize her talents in that area. But what she is known for is her beautiful voice. So we'd like to invite Liz Wright back to the stage. And this is a song, it's called Backward Country Boy Blues. And it just dawned on me recently that maybe he named it that way because, I mean, it's the blues on the CD, but it goes to the 5 chord before it goes to the 4 chord. And I said, voila, maybe that's why it's called Backward Country Boy Blues. But anyway, we flipped this one a little bit too, and I hope you enjoy it. This is one that needs no introduction. One of my favorite Ellington pieces that is not on Money Jungle.
God Almighty, God above, please look down and see my people through. Lord, dear Lord of love, God Almighty, God above, please look down and see my people through. The sun and moon will shine up in the sky when the day is gray. I know it's clouds passing by. He'll give peace and comfort to every troubled mind. Come Sunday, oh, come Sunday, that's the day. Sunday, that's the day. Come Sunday, oh, come Sunday, that's the day.
Thank you. That was actually an original composition of mine called Grassroots. And we'd like to bring Liz Wright back. And do something, what I did, I combined a poem of Duke Ellington's called Music with a piece from Money Jungle that's called REM Blues, R-E-M Blues. And do you remember the original of this? Did you do? Okay. Is this on? Okay. Anyway, the original was something like that. And we did something with this. And there's a poem that Duke Ellington wrote that's called Music that is, I believe it was published in the book Music is My Mistress. And I actually had to get permission from his grandchildren to include it on the CD. But this poem really speaks to me because it talks about music basically being your biggest passion in life. And I think all of us at some point, musicians, realize that we're really in love with this art form and with what we do as artists and musicians. And sometimes you have to sacrifice a lot of other things to continue to have careers and to continue to do what you love. And you know, it's interesting because he talks about, well, you'll hear the poem, but you know, at one point he says he wishes that he could kiss her, and it's because music is so tangible and intangible at the same time. So I hope you enjoy this.
Music is a beautiful woman in her prime. Music is a scrub woman, clearing away the dirt and the grime. Music is a girl child, simple, sweet, and beaming. 1,000 years old, cold as sleet and scheming. Wise and patient, unfathomably kind. Music is the woman you've always wanted to find. As fragile as a flower, a single petal of a rose. And what you think, she already knows, she knows. A system of ribbons, a multiplicity of ramifications sparkling from her brain down through her core. A million facets of gossamer sensations. And you could be a most inadequate bore. Music is She's a gorgeous bitch. A volcano of desire makes your blood to boil as you get higher and higher. Music. Music is like a woman who's like mathematics. Music is a woman who's true. And no matter how well you know her, there's always more to learn. An endless adventure. Every day she's brand new. Music is that woman you wish would say, there's very few who do a new do like you do. But alas, you're the victim of her coup. 'Cause she can always satisfy you. Music is the woman you follow day after day. Music is that woman who always gets her way. The topless chick you like to see shake it. And no matter how hard you try, you never quite make it. When you don't hear her, you desperately miss her. And when you embrace her, you wish you could kiss her.
Thank you. We'd like to invite Antonio Hart up to join us on his last couple of pieces. He was also kind enough to play on the CD. And we'd like to play one of, one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard. It's called Fleuret Africaine. And on the CD, I had the pleasure of flying to Arkansas and visiting with Clark Terry, and he actually sang on this. He did some mumbles and he played some trumpet, and we had a good time. So you have to buy the CD to hear that, though. Obviously, he's not here with us. Well, yes, please. We like to conclude with, what key is this in? Is it C? Okay. It's a blues. It has a major and a minor feeling to me, on the CD at least, on the original. But anyway, this is called Very Special. And, you know, in essence, of course, Duke Ellington and Charles Mingus and Max Roach were all very special. And, you know, the beauty of that recording, too, is that you can hear the tension between all of them. You can feel the love and you can hear the tension. I heard that Mingus actually was trying to leave the session because he was having a hard time getting along with Max Roach. And anybody that's ever hung out with Max Roach knows that that's not a hard thing to do. Have a hard time getting along. But anyway, hope you've enjoyed our presentation. This was a debut performance, so first time we ever played this music. And I'd like to thank Bill Brower for inviting us here, and Congressman Conyers, and everybody that's had something to do with this incredible event, and my first time here, and I hope to come back sometime soon. Shout out to Larry Ridley as well, an old friend. I know he's a big part of the structure here as well. So thank you again for Tia Fuller and alto and soprano and flute, and Gerald Clayton, piano, and James Genus on the bass, and Liz Wright singing and playing percussion. And thank you, Antonio, for sitting in with us, and also for your show.
adjust myself to economic conditions that will take necessities from the many to give luxuries to the few, leave millions of God's children smothering in an airtight cage of poverty.
We face in these early years of the 21st century is how to grow our economies and ensure shared prosperity.
I still spend about an hour a day trying to study this economy. And I'm not running for anything and don't have a political agenda. I've tried to figure out what...
The amount of deprivation in our world still remains unacceptable. Half of our fellow human beings live on less than $2 a day. That's simply not acceptable in a civilized world.
We address the irresponsibility and recklessness that got us into this mess in the first place.
God will remain within around the voice of great events is proclaiming to us reform that you may preserve.
Thank you again. Good night. Thanks for joining us.
Terry Lynn Carrington.
Hope you have a great rest of your conference.
I want to thank you all for coming. I want to once again thank our sponsors, ASCAP, Microsoft, Prudential, the United Auto Workers, NTC, and DTE Energy. We hope to see you same time next year. Let me also point out that Congressman Bobby Scott has joined us. He's another member of the House Judiciary Committee, does a lot of great work in the field of criminal justice. We want to thank him for joining us. Congressman? All right. Want to thank our chairman, Mr. John Conyers Jr., for convening us once again. Safe travels to you all. Good night. Hey, Benny.
As citizens of the United States, we must participate in the democratic process.
We got to be